radio network at paranormalking.com.
Welcome to the Paranormal News Insider for the week of May 18th, 2021, and this is episode number 480, and this is your host, Dr. Brian D. Parsons, and we are live on the Paranormal King radio network at paranormalking.com. So if you head on over to paranormalking.com, you can get obviously if you're listening live, then you already have the links. But you can get the link there if you're listening to this show after the fact and you want to catch the show live on Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can also go to paranewsinsider.com, the official home of the Paranormal News Insider, to get all the same links. But over at paranormalking.com, you can also get links to a lot of other fantastic shows that I share this network with. So check all these excellent shows out. Great interviews, which I don't do the whole interview thing. A lot of shows do that, but I stick to the news because it's the news that the stuff happening behind the scenes that keeps people interested in all this stuff, and it brings people in to these fields. And hopefully I can inspire some people tonight. We got a lot of UFO stuff to talk about tonight. You may have heard a lot of stuff happening day after day, and I don't think it's going to stop as we head into the month of June. Man, my sinuses are kicking. Today's the first day we've kicked on the air conditioner here at home at the studio, the official Paranormal News Insider Studios. And, man, it's really getting to my nose. It's a warm day out here in Northeast Ohio, mid to high 70s here. You didn't come for the weather report, I know, but today, kind of a weird day, actually getting to see people's faces other than very close family and friends. People not wearing masks, thanks to our Mike DeWine, our Ohio governor, kind of saying, well, May 2nd is going to be the day, and, well, hey, why not? Let's do it a couple weeks early, pre-Memorial Day. Kind of funny how that works out. To go mask-free here in the state of Ohio, I'm not a super huge fan about it, but people are really upset about having to wear masks in public anymore, which I'm used to it. I don't really care. It doesn't bother me if it's helping me stay or keeping me from getting sick. All the better. I don't usually get sick sometime in the fall or over the winter. I didn't get sick at all this fall or winter, so I don't know. Maybe it's a good thing, and maybe people should start thinking about doing it during the flu season. I doubt people will do that, but why not? It doesn't. I don't know. People are so worried about their freedoms, and I don't know. It's just a mask. I don't know. I'm over it though. Doesn't sound like it, but yeah, I'm done with it. So tonight, let's see. So last week I did mention the Arkansas Paranormal Expo changed its date. You still got some states that are kind of in limbo with all these laws and well, I guess I can't call them laws, different things that they're enacting statewide. A lot of companies are also ditching the mask prerequisite to get in. Everything's going on the honor system that people have gotten their COVID shots. But yeah, people are always truthful, 100%. Sure. But yeah, Arkansas Paranormal Expo changed its date. It was supposed to be October 2nd and 3rd, but it's changed to October 30th and 31st of this year in Little Rock, Arkansas, of course. We got some events coming up this weekend. A pretty big event down in one of my favorite places, kind of my I guess it would be my stomping ground, the Mansfield Reformatory. Pretty famous spot up here in Ohio, Northeast Ohio, Mansfield. Um, Man, I've probably been to the Mansfield Reformatory more than any other, I guess you'd say, haunted location than any other. It's a beautiful place. I mean, it's just the history alone, let alone movies like The Shawshank Redemption and Air Force One being filmed on site, and of course a lot of rap videos and rock videos as well. It's a beautiful building, largest freestanding structure. I mean, the jails are just stacked, just sitting there. Was that Creed? I think it was Creed that had a video. Remember when Creed was cool? I think it was Creed. Wasn't it Creed? I don't remember. Just a beautiful building. A lot of history into that building, going all the way back to the Civil War. Yes, the Civil War. Beautiful building. Again, I just love it. I've had a lot of great experiences there. Felt a lot of things. Heard a lot of things. No. Godsmack. It's Godsmack. It just hit me. Beautiful building. It's a little bit of disrepair, but it was one of my first places I ever went. That was when I really started to get really super serious about doing this stuff. And I've been there a number of times. Been fortunate to be there with probably less than 5 people in the building total. Spent the night there a few times. Literally spent the night sleeping in that location, helping clean up a couple of times. Just a beautiful building. I feel an attachment to there that I don't have to any other building. But anyway, getting a little personal there. But we've got an event. Well, not we, but somebody has an event, Parapsychon, coming up May 22nd and 23rd in Mansfield, Ohio. Actually, some friends of mine from the Tri-C Ghost Hunters will be putting that event on. They actually spoke at my event that I had a few years ago. Great group. A lot of people that I know are going to be there. I know Eric Altman is slated to be there from PA. Great cryptid investigator, ghost researcher in his own right. Gosh, the list, there's like 200 people will be there. Dave Schrader will be there. Ben Hansen, Amy Bruni, Adam Berry, the Ghost Brothers. Trying to pull this out of my head here. Just tons of people. I wish I could go. I probably could go. Probably could go if I wanted to. I got a lot of other stuff going on, but it's Saturday night. Man, I love that building. It's really fun when this place is packed too. It's fun when you're there by yourself, but I tell you, you get people there. There's an energy in that building that you can't describe. Beautiful building. So again, that's Parapsychon coming up this. Is that this weekend? Yeah. Mansfield Reformatory in Mansfield, Ohio. The Phenomenology 2020 was supposed to be way back in February of this year, rescheduled till June. Actually, I think that was rescheduled from 2020. So it's technically Phenomenology 2020, although I think they're calling it Phenomenology 2021. Takes place June 3rd through the 5th in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And the Fort Mifflin Paranormal Expo 2021, June 5th in Philadelphia, PA. There's a handful of stuff coming up in June. June is the new April, at least this year, for paranormal conferences and conventions. Usually April is the breakout month, but it looks like June, I think a lot of people gambled on that being, kind of the opening of things. Or at least hopeful that summer would bring a nice fresh wave of people being able to hang out and go out. And I still caution people, be careful, always know what's happening at the venues, get in contact with those putting these things on, just in case things get canceled or delayed or whatever due to any local things going on with restrictions on gatherings. Let's see. Not much going on in cryptozoology. We got Contact in the Desert coming up June 4th through the 7th in Indian Wells, California. And for the entire list of conferences, conventions, it's not as torn up as it was last year. It was horrendous last year with all the cancellations, delays, and postponements and cancellations and everything. ParanewsInsider.com. Click on the events tab up there at the top, second from the left. You click the home thing, you're not going to go anywhere. It's just going to spin you in a circle. But that's your wrap up for conferences, conventions. I think it's good to kind of get back out there and a little bit. I don't think we should be having really big gatherings, but hey, seems like the sporting venues, especially baseball being in heavy season right now, are opening things up. Not sure about hockey, but I'm sure the hockey games now, being in their prime, being in the playoffs, they're going to start trying to pack these arenas as much as they can as well to make some money. But I'm still a little apprehensive about all that stuff. But we'll see how things go. So, that being said, we are going to move now into cryptid news. Not a great segue, but here we are in cryptid news. So, probably the biggest story in cryptozoology is, last week was that Bengal tiger running around the streets of Houston, Texas. And I think it was yesterday morning, I heard on, well, I'll say it, satellite radio. I heard somebody talking about this story, and they weren't sure if the tiger had been found. And, I shake my head at that because, I knew what happened with this tiger, but it goes to emphasize a lot of these paranormal stories about how people are always excited about the big part of the story. When it breaks, hey, a tiger loose in Houston, and everyone's worried about whether or not it's okay. And then when the rest of that information comes out, people have already moved on. It's like TikTok videos got a shelf life of about 25 minutes, and then everybody moves on. People don't stay. They don't care about stuff for too long. It's not just the social media generation. I think that's kind of goes back anyway. You hear a story, it kind of fizzles out. You don't hear too much, but then the next big thing comes out, and everybody pays attention to that as well. But yes, the big scary story of the Bengal tiger loose in a residential area in just outside of Houston, Texas, back on May 9th, Sunday, May 9th, Victor Hugo Cuevas corralled the loose tiger, came outside, gave it like a bear hug. Can you say bears? Lions and tigers and bears, I guess. Okay, yeah, everybody says, oh my. Okay. So he corralled the loose tiger, which had basically jumped a fence. Probably kept it in his backyard and jumped over the fence. So I don't know how high of a fence you need to keep a Bengal tiger enclosed. It's probably pretty high. It's got to be pretty high. So, if you have a dog, probably need that 6 to 8 foot fence. For a tiger, probably a 15, 20 foot fence. I don't know. I'm sure they can jump pretty high. So Victor corralled the cat, brought it inside, and loaded it up to his white Jeep. Is it a Wrangler? I forget what it was. And took off the tiger. And he evaded police. There was a short chase through the streets of, not Houston, but west of Houston, Texas. And he got away. But he was apprehended. But the tiger was missing. Did the tiger fall out? Did it run away? Did he just open the door and say, "Roll, tiger, roll"? That's kind of what I imagined. Like, how do you drive away? How do you escape from the police with a giant tiger, and then they catch you, and you don't have the tiger? Where's the tiger? That was the big question last week. Everyone wondered what happened to it. Did the guy let it loose out of the main streets of Houston, Texas, or are we going to find this thing traveling throughout Texas, maybe checking out the South by Southwest Festival all the way out there in Austin? I don't know. That was earlier this year. But where's the tiger? That was the big question all week. There's a lot of other stuff going on about this case, about Victor's background, and his lawyer saying that it's not his tiger. Well, he was a hero because he captured the tiger. He saved everyone's lives. He's a hero. He should be given the keys to the city. Well, he didn't say that, but that's, it seems like that's kind of the direction he was going. This guy was a hero, and it's not his tiger. He was just watching it for somebody else. That's what they all say, isn't it? That's not mine, officer. I'm just watching it for somebody else. I don't know how that got in my car. I don't know how that got in my glove box. It's not mine. I don't ride in the passenger seat. I don't know how it got there. I don't even use the ashtray. So yes, this week the tiger has been turned in. It didn't turn itself in, didn't come in, with his paws crossed behind his back or anything like that. But the tiger was turned in and is seemingly in good condition. Victor and his lawyer had denied the tiger belonging to Victor, but Michael Elliott, the lawyer himself, stated that the person who had the tiger called Victor's wife, Gia, and said that they had the tiger and that they would be willing to turn it over to the police. So they arranged this meeting. I think it was at a tennis court. So it'd be kind of, probably climb a chain link fence, but at least it's taller than the fence in the backyard. And it's also been released that Victor and his wife did, in fact, own the tiger for about 9 months, which is how old the tiger is. A 9-month-old Bengal tiger. That thing is big. It's bigger than most large dogs. It's only 9 months old. So at 9 months, it's already jumping the fence. Can you imagine what the thing would have been 2 to 3 years old or 5 years old if it made it that long? I mean, this ain't Chester Cheetah. This is a big cat. But he's safe. And the tiger is actually named India, which is kind of cool, I guess. It was evaluated and sent to the Cleveland Armory Black Beauty Ranch Wildlife Sanctuary in Murchison, Texas. And I think they really need to look at that name. Cleveland Armory Black Beauty Ranch Wildlife Sanctuary. I think they should shorten it down a little bit. But that wildlife sanctuary already has some tigers. Lots of land for it to roam. So much better than a backyard in West Houston, Texas. So probably a good story for that. But for me, I wonder, and again, we talked about this last week, how many how many stories of wild animals in the Houston area. And it's a big concern down there. And it's been a big debate all week down there about all these exotic animals that are discovered. And it's weird because we had the tiger, the one that was stuck in a cage in an abandoned building, discovered by some vagrants smoking pot. They stumbled upon a tiger in a cage, and what an experience that has to be high as a kite and find a tiger in a cage. I wonder how long they took them to figure out it was real, and if they all have all their fingers intact. But not the first time. There's a few more sightings of tigers. That's crazy. In a major metropolitan area. It's a pretty big city. It's a pretty packed. I probably mentioned it before. I've driven through Houston, and I'll tell you, it seems like it never ends. I mean, you think Atlanta's big. If you've ever driven through Atlanta, man, Houston just goes on forever. Kind of like the story. But anyway, it's a good ending for the tiger, India. And we'll have to see. I know Victor is being held on, I think it's $300,000 bond. He's got a not so good history with the law. So yeah, this could turn out to be a really, really bad story for him. But it could be a good story too. It had a good ending, and hopefully it's a good story because maybe Houston, maybe Texas will start to clamp down on these animals, exotic pets. It's just crazy, and again, you never know. This emphasizes the point I make all the time when talking about these kind of stories. You never know what your neighbor might have in their backyard, really. Um, I know here in Ohio, there was a very unfortunate incident that took place just outside of Columbus, Ohio. Not as big as Houston, but again, a major metropolitan area where a gentleman had a ton, I shouldn't say a ton, but over 50 exotic animals on his property, including tigers, including lions, and yes, bears. Also mountain lions, some monkeys, all on his property. He wasn't doing so well mentally and let all the animals loose before he took his own life. And officers responded to the scene and unfortunately had to dispatch the animals. And there was a couple of close calls with the officers being in danger as the sun was going down. And unfortunately, they had to put all the animals down. They didn't have time to tranquilize them and capture them safely. They're just running amok, and animals will travel. And they found everything but one of the monkeys, which they think that one of the tigers or the lion ate. But that's really sad and unfortunate incident. It really kind of kickstarted the campaign here in Ohio to form some legislation to kind of curb all this craziness that people have. There's a lot of people that had exotic animals in their backyards, and it wasn't out of the ordinary for people anywhere in Ohio to hear a lion roar in a residential area. So not good stuff. But hopefully, we can get over owning animals like this. So I mentioned last week how there's more tigers in captivity in private zoos or in private backyard menageries than actually in zoos or in the wild, which is highly disturbing. Tigers are big on the exotic animal trade. There's breeders that breed these animals, but that's not going to save their dwindling numbers in the wild. Most of those animals are interbred within families, and you can't really put those out in the wild because all the genetic defects. So, kind of a sad situation with the tigers, and wish that could get people to open their eyes about how they're disappearing in the wild. And speaking of rash of sightings of animals that don't belong in certain areas, as you well know, off and on we've talked about alligators being in different places where they are not supposed to be, all over the United States. Well, interesting story out of Michigan where, and this is weird, I've never heard of this, but there are so many alligator sightings in Michigan that recently a sanctuary invited police out and trained them with hands-on experience, by the way, with 2 to 3 foot alligators and then 4 to 5 foot alligators, in how to handle them, how to capture them, and then how to release them with all your limbs intact, which is weird. Training officers in the state of Michigan how to capture alligators. That's just unheard of. There's no reason for that, but there is a reason for that because there are so many that are let loose in Michigan, especially the waters of Michigan, obviously the waters of Michigan. And, what was it? I think almost 10, I think eight or 9 counties already this year in Michigan, which I didn't even catch any of those stories, but actually, no, that's not this year. It was not 2019. So last year they took out a bunch of alligators. We talked about a few of them here on the show. Year prior, 9 alligators from 8 different Michigan counties were found. it's disturbing. I mean, again, think about it. You're out with your family up in Michigan, maybe at the lake, the big lake, and you're just hanging out on the beach. The last thing you'd expect to see is an alligator in the water. But I've read a lot of interesting stories of kayakers encountering alligators in different places, and just really been kind of amazed at these stories. And as a kayaker myself, and I enjoy going out to any area here in Ohio, Pennsylvania, or neighboring states, and hanging out in the water. Like, that's some really scary stuff. And granted, most of these are pretty small; they're 2 to 3 foot long. But again, you don't expect to see these things, so it's kind of weird to hear that. But yes, the Critchlow Alligator Sanctuary in Athens is offering a course for animal control officers on how to safely catch alligators. So, and the good side of that is as well, when officers don't know how to respond, they don't know how to approach these animals. Unfortunately, they rely on their weapons, and they dispatch these animals because they don't have any safe way or the knowledge to capture these creatures. So, unfortunately, it leads to their death. So this is a pretty good thing. Although I think they should focus the time to educate people on not getting these animals or blocking sites that these people are getting these animals from. And stop this from happening. It's not good. It's not good at all. Well, I've got no segue for that. Not good at all. To UFO news, which could be good. Suppose it's good. The big news out of, I don't know, it's all big news. It seems like recently there's a lot of stuff, and it's really just it's not stopped the whole entire week. And I think this was kind of done on purpose. This first story here on the UFO topic, a new video of a purported unidentified aerial phenomena. Still weird to say that. Has shown up. Another leaked video, which is kind of weird. How does this stuff get out? How do people find this stuff? It always amazes me. I'm wondering how that happens. Another leaked video. This one was purportedly filmed aboard the USS Omaha off the coast of San Diego on July 15th, 2019. And the video appeared on the Instagram account of investigative filmmaker Jeremy Corbell, who's kind of been in the news a couple of times recently with UFO videos and UFO information. So in the video, I wasn't sure when I first saw this. It didn't seem too legit to me the way it was shown. I had to do some other quick research, and it didn't take too long before a lot of information came out about this. But in the video, we do hear the chatter of men talking, and there's some military speak going on. You can kind of tell it's probably legit from that. It just seemed a little weird to me. And they're watching a black and white video on a screen, and the video is filmed with something else from that onto that screen. That's pointed toward the monitor. Probably a smartphone, I'm guessing, is filming right off the monitor. After a few seconds, there's a black sphere, which is in the crosshairs in the video. It's kind of flying around, and then it seems to slow down. It slowly descends toward the water, and it seems to be kind of hovering over the water there for a second. And all of a sudden, it splashed. Is what is said. I think it's like 3 different people that say it almost at the same time. As this ball object seems to bounce a little bit. It was kind of weird how it went into the water and disappeared from the camera. We're seeing what seems to be an infrared camera view of the object. So that has a little bit to do with potentially what we might actually be seeing if there's a logical explanation to this. But infrared kind of would change the shape. So this thing might not even be round. It's just what we see is round of the shape. And the fact that it's round may also point to the possibility. I'm not saying this is exactly what this is, that what we're seeing here is not the object from the side. So it's not like we're looking at this object moving around. This could be from behind the object or maybe even in front of the object. So it could be heading toward, or I kind of would think this thing is moving away from the camera, and it could give a round-shaped appearance. And the darkness, if I'm correct with this video being infrared, would be from heat. So a heat signature, possibly. And we've seen videos of this like this before that were purported UFO videos that were later on determined to be just jet aircraft in the distance. But jet aircraft don't routinely bounce on the surface of the water and disappear onto the surface. So that's an interesting observation. I mean, it could be some sort of bird, but not too many round birds out there that bounce on the surface of the water before going under. So I don't know. This is an interesting video, and I was a little skeptical when I first saw it, but yeah, interesting. But again, the key takeaway for me with this video is why do we continue to see leaked videos from the Navy? How are these videos getting out? I mean, the Navy doesn't really seem to put off by all these videos coming out. They don't freak out. They don't deny it. They're pretty quick to admit that these videos are legitimate, and they don't really seem too concerned about a lack of control of the people within the Navy having, this information or this footage at their disposal. You'd think that there would be some repercussions or investigations. Who says there's not? But you'd think people would be a little apprehensive about releasing these things, and it wouldn't be too hard to determine the people in that video. I don't think. If anybody familiar with that ship at the time, I think they could probably narrow down the few people that would have been in that room at that time. So I'm not sure if I'm in the military, I want to get in the middle of that, of releasing classified information on my own. Things get a little fishy out there at sea, especially in the Navy, no pun intended. But anytime in the military that you're messing around with things that the higher ups don't want getting out, sometimes things get a little complicated for your career. And yeah, I think that people would be a little intimidated by that. But that's why I was concerned or thinking that possibly this video might just be pushing the boundaries of reality and might have just been something that was concocted by somebody. But it didn't take too long for that video to come out, and a Pentagon spokesperson came out and said that it's real. It's legit. It did happen on the USS Omaha, and it was confirmed by a Pentagon spokesperson to have been taken by Navy personnel, and the video is included in ongoing examinations of UAP phenomena by the UAP Task Force. So this is another one of those official videos that's linked to the ongoing investigations. So again, how are these official videos being leaked one by one? And to me, I would think it's on purpose, kind of to maybe dilute the public. There's a little bit less of a wow factor every time one of these things come out, I think. Those of us that have been involved in the UFO field over the years are not too shocked by what we're seeing. We're just shocked by the fact that the military is on board with this, and the military is not denying any of this stuff. They're really going along with it. And the fact that other people in the government are pushing this stuff to find information out a lot more than, let's say, groups like MUFON. or all the other individuals that we used to hear jumping up and down, pounding on tables, parading around with disclosure signs. Where are those people at? I don't see them. But it seems like the politicians are taking more of a stance on UFOs, well, I should say UAPs, than the general public. And it seems like the general public is starting to get into this a little bit. So maybe it's possible that these videos are being leaked one by one to kind of get us used to seeing this stuff, or kind of numb it a little bit. So, a good majority of the general public doesn't really believe in any of this stuff. They all think it's fake. So I don't know. I think you're slowly converting some people into potential believers in all this stuff. And we'll see. The clock's ticking. We're getting close to June. And we all know that June is supposed to be the deadline for the release of information on UAPs and what the government knows, what they've kind of disseminated. I don't think you're going to get much more than an acknowledgement of the cases that we've already been leaked, and maybe a little bit more information about those videos, as well as maybe a couple more. But I don't think you're going to get really anything in the way of answers or disclosure. I don't think anyone's going to come out and go, oh, yeah. Hangar 18, yeah, true story. Roswell, yeah, true story. The bodies, well, we might have a finger or two, but not the whole body. Yeah, I don't think any of that kind of stuff's going to come out. Oh, reverse engineered UFOs? Absolutely. It's going to be at the air show this fall. I don't think that any of that stuff's going to come out. I think it's just going to be, yeah, we saw some stuff. We got some videos of some stuff. And we have no clue what this stuff is. But there you go. I'm pretty sure that's pretty much summarized that. Granted, it's going to be a lot of mumbo jumbo and hundreds of pages of probably some really interesting stories and observations by people who saw these things, and a breakdown. We've already seen some of this stuff that I think is going to be included into this probably meaningless release of information. It's just going to be long, drawn-out descriptions of the stuff we've already seen. Probably a couple of other extra ones that are less phenomenal than what we've seen so far. But we can hope. We can hope for a lot more information coming out in June. So the big thing about the video, which is really kind of weird, this USS Omaha video, is was put out. It's kind of bookended by a couple of things that happened in the media. So Sunday night, I didn't get to see it. I had to work a little later than I really wanted to. So I didn't get home in time. I didn't get to see it. I've watched a few bits and pieces of it online. 60 Minutes. So I don't know if anybody out there saw the CBS News's 60 Minutes episode this Sunday, talking about the current state of UAPs. I mean, primetime TV show, weekend, Sunday night. That's a pretty big deal to be talking about this topic. And again, it goes to put an exclamation point on the fact that this is mainstream news talking about this stuff. They're not making fun of it anymore. What I saw on this, the replays and the short clips of videos and people talking, it seemed like people were pretty serious, and they were taking this topic very serious when they covered it. It wasn't X-Files theme music and people laughing and giggling, which we have generally seen on news reports late at night. They got to fill in the time, and the weatherman did the best job he could of making some jokes and complaining about people complaining about the weather. Well, we got one more story. It's people that saw a UFO, and everybody laughs. the desk can't contain itself. We're used to seeing stuff like that, but now 60 Minutes, a serious episode. Probably the second biggest story of the week, although the show really, got a lot of press, got a lot of attention. I don't know how much viewership was. I haven't seen any numbers yet. That's one thing I wanted to do before the show to see how many people were watching that episode. But I knew it was going to happen. I'd heard about it. Wasn't sure how popular it was going to be, but it seems like it was a pretty big splash on the topic. And so correspondent Bill Whitaker tackled the subject of unidentified aerial phenomena. If you've ever watched 60 Minutes, it's, interview style show, some backstory on the topics, but generally bringing a lot of people in that, it's a lot of hush-hush stuff. Sometimes some of the stuff is leaked ahead of time and you can read about what's going to happen. But some people knew some of the stuff that got cut on the, to the cutting room floor, but nobody really knew everything that was going to happen in the show from what I was reading. And so the interviews included former Navy pilots, Commander Dave Fravor and Lieutenant Commander Alex Dietrich, who are the primary witnesses in the November 14, 2004 USS Nimitz UAP sighting, which took place about 100 miles off the coast of San Diego, California. And of course, this sighting became well known as the Tic Tac UFO sighting. Forget which one. I think it was Dietrich. I'm pretty sure Dietrich had never done an interview for this sighting before. So it's a pretty groundbreaking that one of the pilots had never gone on the record publicly about this sighting. So, watching these interviews, these are trained pilots. And pilots are, I don't know how great pilots are nowadays versus pilots 20, 30 years ago who did rely more on visual things than heads-up displays and different things that can guide them through the skies. They're still observers, though, and they're still people with good vision, good heads on their shoulders, so they have to be aware of what's going on around them. And so they talked about their sighting, and they talked about how they were on a training exercise, again, off the coast of San Diego, California, aboard the USS Nimitz, when they were suddenly diverted from their training exercises to engage a strange object. And the object itself, again, was a white tic-tac shaped object, which this is the sighting that launched it all. This is kind of when it started off this latest movement. And the object they encountered was moving along the surface of the water, kind of strangely. As Fravor went to take a closer look, he noticed the object had no markings, no wings, and had no exhaust coming from it. So essentially, no visible means of flight or propulsion. This thing shouldn't be flying. It's kind of goes, this is when you start talking about things that go against physics. How does something like that fly? How is it getting its propulsion? Weird. So as he tried to cut the craft off, try to get in front of it, it suddenly accelerated. And it seemed like it just disappeared into thin air. But moments later, the object was reacquired on radar from the ship, USS Nimitz. It was about 60 miles away in just a handful of seconds. That's some pretty good speed that this craft was traveling. Senator Marco Rubio was acting chairman of the Intelligence Committee. He also spoke about the strange craft reported by the pilots, and he seems to lean in the direction of them being a foreign intelligence threat. Now, this is kind of the angle that that I've kind of supported recently throughout these things. I think this is really a way to gauge public interest or public fear, potentially, of foreign governments putting surveillance technology in our airspace, as well as foreign adversaries having technology that pretty much blows ours out of the water, from the sounds of it. But Rubio came out and he basically said these objects are not ours. And he added, quote, "We certainly want to make sure that it's not a foreign adversary capability, meaning the Russians or the Chinese have developed some technology. It's a huge counterintelligence threat if that's what it is. We want to take that seriously," unquote. And, I couldn't agree, and I've said it before. If these craft are to be discovered to be aliens, or maybe designed and left here on Earth as maybe like robotic craft, like what we do. We launch things to Mars to survey and to look at and spy on and take data. Maybe that's what these are. These are just these little robotic things with different gadgets on it to gauge these crazy people on this planet. And, I don't know. I think, as mind-boggling as it would be, I think for a lot of people, it would be kind of a relief to know, hey, this is really happening. I mean, obviously, it would have some pretty big things to go on with, religion. Organized religion would have some issues with all this stuff. But I think overall, publicly, yeah, of course, you're going to have people freaking out if we discover aliens. But that's not just a U.S. problem. That's a global problem that, it might actually be good. Might actually bring people together. I know, I doubt it. But it's a worldwide threat. And these UAPs, yeah, other governments see these things, but it just seems like it's, the United States is really taking this seriously. You don't hear a whole lot of other people chiming in on these things. So why would why would white Tic Tacs and all these other things only invade U.S. airspace? In California, nowhere else in the planet is that much that we know of, at least. So potential counterintelligence threat, which to me, again, yeah, if it would be mind-boggling if we did find aliens and we could validate that and catch a craft and poke around it and see what it's made out of and how it's flying and what all this stuff is. That would be pretty cool. But I think it would be pretty scary either way to find out that other governments have technology that we can't match, and that means we've lost our edge in the military and would put us on the defense. And this is pretty scary. It should be eye-opening stuff for people. So no matter what's going on, it could have some very negative effects for the globe, for the world. And I mean, it's true. Mentioned in chat how countries can't even get together to work on the asteroid problem. I mean, Arecibo was fantastic for tracking that stuff, and nobody really cared to give any money to rebuild that or save it or swoop in and say, hey, maybe we should save that thing. China's got its own big dish. It's not really designed to do that as well as Arecibo, even though that thing is ginormous. But yeah, it just seems like not everybody's concerned about the same things, and we can't even work together on some simple things like, I don't know, the safety of the Earth from big giant rocks falling on top of us. But hey, maybe eventually we'll take that seriously, like a bunch of dinosaurs, and we'll figure that part out. So Sunday night, the 60 Minutes episode, pretty big deal. And we follow that up. So all this excitement, UAPs, UFOs, Sunday night, dropping it. And then Monday night, it continues. The party rages on. Maybe this is the after party. Monday night, former President Barack Obama appeared on The Late Show with James Corden. Now, Obama's made some jokes about the topic. He's kind of made light of the subject, and sometimes he does give semi-serious interviews about the topic, joking about information that he can or can't release. And, he always does the same thing where he starts out serious and then he starts joking about it. But watching the clips, I've never seen him really this serious on this topic. And it's kind of eye-opening to me, to hear him talk about it, because I've heard him talk about it over the years. And he did kind of start out softly on the topic before saying what a lot of others have said about the information that's been leaking out of the government for the last few years. And he says, quote, "What is true, and I'm actually being serious here, is that there is footage and records of objects in the skies that we don't know exactly what they are. We can't explain how they move, their trajectory. They did not have an easily explainable pattern. And so I think the people still take seriously trying to investigate and figure out what that is," unquote. So it's a little eye-opening. The president's saying that, hey, people are studying this stuff. They're looking into it because, frankly, we don't know how they're doing what they're doing. And again, that kind of goes with what I feel like. Even if the government would say, okay, fine, you guys win. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to tell you everything we know about UFOs. I really think it would be a quick press conference, because I don't think they know as much as what we think they do. A lot of people think we've got reverse technology and aliens locked up and doing all kinds of weird things. We've got supposedly, some people think we've got agreements with aliens on different things. I don't know, maybe we're selling humans as slaves or something, or cattle to them. I don't know what people think, but I think the reality is a lot more scary than all this make-believe thoughts and things, because the scary thing is they just don't know. They have no clue. Like, we have no clue. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what's flying over in our skies. And I think that's the case with the government. They really don't know. And that's again why I think they're leaking this information out, just to see how some people react to it, or how some people disseminate some of these things. So one thing that I didn't talk about, and that would have been last week, was way back on Monday, May 10th, so a week ago Monday, there was an article in the New Yorker that was published on the UAP phenomena. It probably took me a week to read it, to be honest. It's a very lengthy article, but it's a pretty easy read. And once you start going, it's a very nice thing to read. And there's a ton of information in that title, in that article. So it's titled "How the Pentagon Started Taking UFOs Seriously. For decades, flying saucers were a punchline. Then the U.S. government got over the taboo." And it was written by Gideon Lewis Krause. So, as you can tell, it used the word UFO in it, and which I thought was a little interesting, but not everybody's on board with the UAP. I think it's weird myself. I think it's kind of like distancing language. And again, that's why I think that this is more foreign technology than anything that is from outer space or from another galaxy or anything like that. And I think they know that. I think they're well aware of it, that it's earthbound type stuff. they're just very careful not to give away too much in these videos. They're trying to give us the most ambiguous stuff. But yeah, this article is very heavy with a UFO angle, and the UFO, not just unidentified flying object. And a lot of people say, well, UFO doesn't mean aliens because it's just an unidentified flying object. That's pretty much what they sound like too. But UFO obviously is, yeah, that's part of the definition. But the second part, unfortunately, over time, has also attached itself to mean aliens, or to be related to aliens or extraterrestrials or intelligent life from somewhere other than here, which is kind of a relief. So the article leans in on the topic. They start out by talking about Stephen Greer, who founded the Disclosure Project, and talks about the government release of information back in 2001. So, I mean, obviously disclosure talks have been going around a lot longer than 2001, but this was pretty much kind of the beginning of the effort with politicians tied to the story in the most serious way. So, no, it's not been that long. It's 2 decades, 20 years that the government started to, and even back then, yeah, it was a punchline, just like the story says. It wasn't anything that everybody took seriously. It was only a handful of people in the government. A lot of other people were trying to get those people kicked out of the government. The article, again, it's a lengthy article. I'll put let me just put the link in chat, and you guys can devour that at your leisure. And so, again, that's another good thing about hanging out in the chat room, is that sometimes when I remember or I think about it, I share links to these stories in there, and then sometimes also I have photographs to kind of explain some of these stories. So there's the article to the New Yorker there in chat, and I'll try to remember to get it out on Facebook. I've been really bad about that lately, the last few episodes, but I'll do my best to get some of these stories out there, especially that one, the New Yorker. It's a very good article, very in-depth, great research on this. And yeah, like I said, Stephen Greer kind of launches from there, and it goes into all sorts of topics, kind of UFOs, but more on a serious note, not going too far out there with any of this stuff. And again, it's kind of the alien spaceship angle of UFOs, not just on the unidentified flying objects. And it does talk about Project Blue Book. It does mention J. Allen Hynek. It talks about Robert Bigelow. A lot of name dropping, a lot of different people and places inside the government and outside of it. It even talks about skeptic Mick West of Metabunk as it winds its way into the current times of where we're at right now with the release of these leaked videos over the last few years, of these small handful of videos leaked out to us over the course of the last few years. And again, the focus is on extraterrestrials, which does apply to a lot of people. I should say appeal to a lot of people as being the culprits behind these sightings, Tic Tac videos and all these other things. Again, it's a well-written, well-researched article leading up to the bombshell, the article in the New York Times a few years back that really started this latest trend on the government taking the subject seriously. It's really where it all started, and probably shocked a lot of people of the general population who really thought everything about UFOs was pretty much made up or only believed by crazy people. You know, crackpots who lived in their parents' basement or whatever you want to say derogatory about UFO believers. But now, politicians are taking it seriously. People are talking about it on news stations and 60 Minutes. That's a pretty big deal. So we got to keep our eyes on that. And hopefully we get some more information from the government soon, but don't hold your breath. Don't hold your breath and don't expect the world. Um, but hopefully something does get released. It's going to be really frustrating. And I think there's been enough pressure, all these things coming out, pushing for something. So the more that I see a lot of this pressure by things like 60 Minutes and the article by the New Yorker, things like that are exactly what this needs to really push harder on the government to actually give out some more information. So hopefully this works, and we might have some more down the road in the next couple of weeks to add a little bit more pressure to all of this. But we'll see. Maybe they'll just continue to leak out a video every few months and just that's all we get. I don't know, but we'll keep our eyes peeled. That sounds painful. Yeah, don't peel your eyes. Just keep them open and keep them to the skies, as you know. I'll see you next week. But for now, yeah, keep those eyes in the skies, your ears in the woods, the hair standing on the back of your neck, and always keep your mind slightly ajar. And above all else, like Journey says, like you sang last Friday in karaoke, don't stop believing. For the Paranormal News Insider, this is Dr. Brian D. Parsons reporting.